Abington Township lifts shelter-in-place order following SBS fire. Investigators are working diligently to determine the cause of the blaze. Residents can now return home. Shelter-in-place lifted in Abington Township after SBS fire. The evacuation order has been rescinded. Authorities are investigating the fire's origin and cause. Following the SBS fire, Abington Township residents are relieved. The shelter-in-place and evacuation orders are lifted. Investigators search for answers. Abington Township's SBS fire prompts shelter-in-place, then evacuation lift. Investigators are on the scene, working to determine the cause of the fire. The shelter-in-place order is over in Abington Township. The evacuation order has also been lifted after the SBS fire. The cause remains under investigation. Abington Township officials announced the end of the shelter-in-place order. The evacuation is lifted. The cause of the SBS fire is under investigation. Residents of Abington Township can breathe easy. The shelter-in-place and evacuation are lifted. The SBS fire investigation continues. Good news for Abington Township. The shelter-in-place order has been lifted. Evacuations are over. The SBS fire investigation continues. Abington Township's SBS fire investigation is underway. The shelter-in-place and evacuation orders have been lifted. Residents can return. The all-clear has been given in Abington Township. The shelter-in-place and evacuation are lifted. The cause of the SBS fire remains unknown. After the SBS fire, Abington Township lifts the shelter-in-place and evacuation orders. Investigators work tirelessly to uncover the cause. Abington Township residents are returning home. The shelter-in-place and evacuation have been lifted following the SBS fire. The SBS fire in Abington Township is under investigation. The shelter-in-place and evacuation orders have been lifted for residents. Relief in Abington Township as the shelter-in-place and evacuation orders are lifted. The investigation into the SBS fire continues. Abington Township authorities lift shelter-in-place and evacuation following the SBS fire. Determining the cause is the top priority. Following the SBS fire, Abington Township residents are free to return. The shelter-in-place and evacuation have ended. The investigation into the cause of the Abington Township SBS fire is ongoing. The shelter-in-place and evacuation are now lifted. Abington Township is back to normal. The shelter-in-place and evacuation orders, put in place after the SBS fire, are lifted. The SBS fire in Abington Township is being investigated. Authorities have lifted the shelter-in-place and evacuation orders. Residents can return to their homes in Abington Township. The shelter-in-place and evacuation orders following the SBS fire are lifted. Abington Township experiences a lifted shelter-in-place and evacuation after the SBS fire. The investigation into the fire's origin proceeds. The all-clear is sounded in Abington Township. Shelter-in-place and evacuation orders are lifted after the SBS fire incident. Good news from Abington Township. The shelter-in-place and evacuation are over. The investigation of the SBS fire continues. Abington Township officials are investigating the SBS fire. The shelter-in-place and evacuation orders have both been lifted.